Hi, I'm Shane from Braided Leather. I've decided to start doing some more tutorial videos based on a lot of the response I have received on the ones I have on YouTube already. I've recorded a lot of footage and I'm going to start putting more of these together, but the first one I decided to do was on Turkshead knots. It's a popular question that I get. There are some good videos on YouTube, and the one thing that distinguishes this particular knot that I'm going to do is that it's not real different, but I've decided to do a two-colored knot using two passes. So this is a two-pass, two-strand, two-color knot. This is going to be going on a flogger. I get a lot of questions about floggers, so I'm hoping that people find this video helpful and useful. I'm planning on putting up a few more. I've got a lot of footage done, and I'm hoping to actually improve the quality of the video, but I thought this one was important enough to get up, try it out. It probably won't be the only Turkshead video that I do, but I had this one done, and I thought I would post it, and people could ask questions, offer suggestions, that kind of thing. So here's a first crack at it. Hopefully there's more to come. Enjoy, and I hope you find it helps. Okay, so here we are. We're going to try working on doing a Turks knot. What we have here is I've already done the top Turks knot for this particular flogger. So now what we want to do is do the knot down here. It's going to be similar to this. Actually, it's going to be exactly the same as this. This is a two-color, two-pass Turkshead knot. And then let's go ahead and get that started. How I start is I always start with my darker color first. Now I know a lot of you art majors are going to tell me that, you know, one being dark has no relevance on the other, but in this particular case we're going to start with the black. So let me get the red out of the way. And what I have here is a Permalock needle. This is a brass needle that has been threaded on the interior, which allows me to screw this on to the end of our strand. Gives us a lot of good tension and allows us to pull the strands through no problem. So we cut this off and trim it to a taper. And then we thread this onto our strand. Just screw it on like that. And then we've got a nice tight attachment there for our needle. Now what I do is I like to put on some leather conditioner onto my strands. Aside from the obvious that it conditions and seals the leather, I like using the leather conditioner because it essentially acts as a lubricant for the strand. The flesh side can drag and pull a little bit. There's a fair bit of tension that's going to go into this knot, and so you're going to find that they drag. So adding a little bit of conditioner, which has the mink oil and the beeswax, is actually going to help this slide around a little bit better, make it a little bit easier to run the knot. So we take our flogger. I start from the handle side and work over to the falls side. It might be a little bit difficult to see, but I'll do my best. The reason I do it this way is because the falls obviously are going to be moving, and so we want the end of our attachments to be down at this end where there's going to be less activity with the knot. So what we do is we want to pass this over. You can see I'm just going to go all the way around once. And obviously here we have to go around the falls. So we go around the falls, and you want to go up at an angle, close to 45 degrees, come across evenly across the top like this, and then come back down around at as close as we can to the same angle. You can see we have this V here. You want this angle and this angle to be as close as possible. So now what I've done is, as I've passed that strand over, I want to go over my existing strand. Here's where I started. I'm going over that strand, and I want to create enough space, because I'm doing two passes in two colors. I want to create enough space here for my next strand. So I'm going to rotate the flogger as I go ahead and run these strands. So I create my even space. I go over, again, my existing strand and over to the next side. Again, leaving myself enough space for the other strand. Now I've come back to where I've started, and I want to start getting into my pattern. Here I want to go under my strand, pull it through, and then I want to go over the next strand. You can just pull that tight. This is the original strand, so it's going to be a little bit loose until we go over it again a couple times. Now, I'm back over where I started. I want to go back around, but here I want to go under the strand and then over the next strand. So pull it through, go under that strand, over the next strand, come back over the top like this. And now you can see when I've got these strands here, I want to alternate. You see how this strand goes over, then it goes under, so now we want it to go over. So we go over that strand, under the next strand, and then once again over the following strand. All the while keeping in mind our spacing, because again, we're going to be running another strand the same width through this again. So we go over, under, over, around, creating ourselves our space here. We slide this over a little bit. As you're doing this, you can adjust all of your spacing. So now I want to go over. And here you can see I want to go over this strand. So now I'm getting kind of, the pattern here is to take your strand, go over the existing strand, and then over the next strand, because it's got to be opposite on every pass that you do. So this one goes under, so now we want to go over, under the next strand, and over the following strand. So we go over, around the top, and again, as you can see, because we're alternating, you want to go under this strand, over the following strand, under the subsequent strand. Now, keep going around. You can see with these edges, you got to be careful. So now we go over the strand, under the following strand, make sure we're spaced properly, over the following strand, then under the next strand. So under, over, under. So again, this is an area where we have to go over twice. So we're coming over this strand, over the top of our knot, and then we want to go over the next strand. So we're going over two strands, go under the other strand, over the next one, under the subsequent strand, get that out of the way, and back around. Now, this is the last pass on this side of the knot. So what we want to do is make sure that we go over this strand, and under this strand. So we're going over, over, under, over that one, under the next one, over this strand, under this strand, now if you get any strands that are crooked, you can use your fid, which is just basically anything that you've got that's got a reasonably sharp end. And it's great for opening up spaces for your leather and all that kind of stuff. You want to go over, under, over again, under, And then here what you want to do is to finish off your knot on this particular pass, you want to go over that strand and essentially under the strand that you started with. And then come up on the other side of it. So you go underneath the strand, come up under the side of it. Don't worry if it comes a little bit loose because you can just tighten it like that. Now you want to follow this pattern briefly because we're going to do a second color. As you can see, my leather is coming to an end. What I do is I pull it up and then I trim this edge. And I trim it to a point because it makes it easier to cover with the other color when we come through. Now what we'll do is come back and do the next color.